If you like Valheim, I promise you're going to like this. Whether you enjoy fighting mystical beasts, crafting ever-improving gear, expanding and enhancing your base, or simply traversing a beautiful world full of lush grasslands, dense forests, and whatever the heck this is, ASKA has something for you. It's a fantastical Viking survival game where you assume the role of a soon-to-be Jarl to recruit and lead a group of fellow Vikings to expand your base, grow your strength, and ultimately conquer the evil forces at work across this gorgeous world. I first tried ASKA at its early access launch in June 2024, and since then it's received a ton of updates, has received great reviews, and are now celebrating by offering 40% off on Steam with my link in the video description. While I may have been lucky to be sponsored by ASKA for today's video, I can promise you I've been having an absolute blast with the early stages of this game. If you're a returning player, I'm going to show you everything that's changed since its early access launch, and if you're a Valheim lover looking for your next Viking binge, I'm going to show you everything that you're missing. After being shipwrecked on a beach thanks to, yeah, more on that monstrosity a little later. ASKA starts off just like your typical survival game, picking up resources like stone, sticks, but also foods like mussels and berries. Quickly, you'll notice the 3 wheels in the bottom left of your screen, which include your standard food, water, but also temperature wheels that you will need to maintain to survive. Temperature won't be much of a threat in the starting summer, but ASKA does support a full season cycle, and winter is always coming. On the other hand, if you're worried about the tedium of maintaining the hunger and thirst bars, I wouldn't worry about it. In my experience, food and water were plentiful and a relative non-threat, enabling me to focus on the best parts of the gameplay. Keeping your villagers fed and watered, however, a little more challenging, but more on that shortly. Soon after landing, glowing wisps began appearing, prompting me to build my first basic structure in the simple fire. The building system turned out to be awesome, and ultimately became one of my favorite features, but let me first explain. Effectively, you start by placing the ghostly template of your desired structure. Then, gather and place the resources on the skeletal outline to complete it. While the fire is relatively simple, constructed in a single phase, many of the structures, like my first shelter I built shortly after, are compiled in up to 3 distinct build cycles. Simply, you place the structure, flatten the earth, are then offered the option to pin the recipe for the first cycle to your screen, gather the resources, and finally add them to your build. From there, you're prompted to use your hammer to erect the first step. Once done, you'll be given a new recipe for the second phase, and repeat that process until you're done. While straightforward at first, it got kinda crazy for me when my village production really ramped up when I had like 6 or 7 structures under construction all at once. But before I got to that point, I was struggling to even make my first fire, with fibers being impossible for me to find. Fortunately, ASKA has this scan feature that highlights all resources in a radius around the player after hitting Z. This makes it super easy to spot resources of interest. This might not be for everyone considering the breaking of immersion, but I found it incredibly helpful, and shortly after finally found the white flowered bush of flax, which finally rewarded me with fibers. If immersion's important to you, the search function's completely optional. With the fibers acquired, I made rope, allowing me to craft my first axe, pickaxe, and hammer for building. The pickaxe critically allowed me to now mine nearby glowing blue rocks, which contained a new resource in Jotun blood shards. These shards are the key ingredient in what ultimately unlocks the essence of the ASKA experience. By first crafting the Eye of Odin and fueling it with the blood shards, you are then able to attract Vikings to join your tribe. After placing the shards within the eye, you're given a choice of 2 recruits to summon and a teaser of some of the attributes they'll possess, but more on that in a moment. After a short timer, the recruit will arrive, and I hate to say it guys, even virtual Vikings are people too, and people have needs. To support their survival and ensure their productivity, you need to build water collectors and wells to ensure they have drinking water, build walls and watchtowers to ease their anxiety and provide them safety. Not to mention, construct and assign shelter for everyone so they have a place to sleep and protection from the dynamic and always changing weather. But don't worry, the game does an excellent job of giving you a breakdown of all your settlement needs and how to address them, like base defense and food production in my case. To add further complexity, each villager you recruit has a completely unique set of attributes to consider. Some really enjoy sleep, some prefer working long hours. Many are efficient at chopping trees, while others might be better suited to farming. And they won't be afraid to let you know how they're feeling either. At any time, you can expect your workforce to see their stats, mood, and specific details as to why they may not be happy or what might be impeding them in fulfilling their task. To remedy any issues, each villager's schedule can be modified and customized right down to the hours they work and how many hours they sleep, with some being night owls and other preferring to rest at night. Another example I had to deal with at one point when my production came to a grinding halt thanks to a complete lack of sticks, as my two builders walked up to me claiming they could not work without any sticks in storage. While the simple fix was to redirect one of the villagers to harvest sticks, these are the things you can expect to deal with. You see, in addition to all the exploration, harvesting, gathering, and crafting that you'll be doing yourself, the player, in ASKA, about half your time is going to be spent managing the assigned tasks and jobs of your villagers. And while I have alluded to the assignment of villagers' projects, I still think it warrants a bit of an explanation. To give villagers directions, you must first build workstations. By then interacting with the station, you can assign your workers to them, with the first basic three being the woodcutting, stone cutting, and gathering pits. Those assigned to the woodcutter will spend their active hours chopping trees, picking sticks, and storing them at the pit. The stonecutter the same, but instead mining stone. And finally, those assigned to the gathering pit will spend their time foraging food. It's important to note here that you don't craft storage containers in ASKA like traditional surviving games. Rather, most workstations you craft come with storage embedded within them that either you or a worker assigned to the station will fill. Maybe obvious to some, but certainly threw me off at first. While any villager is capable of doing any task, a good Jarl like yourself will strategically use their villager's strengths to your advantage. For instance, Turid, my second recruit, was a talented woodsman, and considering my need for wood, I selected him and naturally assigned him to a job at my woodcutting station. Similarly, a good mason will be best stone cutting, and that's just the beginning. In a short time, you'll build a workshop and assign villagers to prepare ever-improving tools for you and your workers. Equipping your workforce with improved tools will enhance their efficiency. Or maybe you want to build a farm to enhance your food supply. In this case, you'll need to first craft and arm your assigned farmer with a rake, otherwise they won't be able to till the earth. As you can probably guess at this point, your villagers can do just about anything that you, the player, can do. They'll chop trees, tend to crops, or gather and place items on under construction builds. It's important to point out this is actually the default role a recruit will assume until assigned a task at another workstation. They will even join you in combat when raids come at night, like from Blood Moons or others, which I can only imagine become more difficult as the game goes on. Better even, supposedly you can arm them with weapons, armor, and they will follow you into the woods to raid hostile points of interest that I personally have yet to experience. But we'll talk about that in depth when we review the features added to ASKA. Of course, included in these things are the basics like eating, drinking, and sleeping, as often when your recruits awake from their evening slumber, the first thing they will do is visit the gathering pit for a snack from any of the food stored there from the previous day of foraging. While you may start small, over time your village will grow and your gathering stations upgraded to huts and ultimately houses, with each upgrade allowing even more villagers to be assigned to them, exponentially increasing the gathering capacity of your village. But that's just one half of the ASKA experience, with exploration and combat being part of the core gameplay loop. Across your map, you're going to encounter distinct points of interest with various different types of enemies to overcome. Without spoiling too much, there is certainly a variety in creatures to fight, of which many I was terribly unprepared for. The wolves, though, I was able to take down with a few careful dodges and well-timed heavy attacks with my club. The combat feels pretty good, with each hit impactful and seemingly some depth to it, with what appears to be a stagger bar. However, if I had to criticize anything in ASKA in my experience so far, it would have to be the enemy AI. I can't say it was difficult to avoid damage with their wayward attacks often completely missing me and occasionally wandering away from me mid-fight. And yes, there are definitely bosses in this game. Let's say I encounter one on accident and... Oh shit. Oh, what have I done? Yeah, very bravely ran away. Not to mention, I encountered a spooky mist-covered location eerily named Stone Jotun Arena. Remind you of anyone? Now, of course, all of this is just the tip of the iceberg with respect to the totality of content available to players in ASKA. Since its release in June of 2024, there have been a ton of updates, and I think we need to talk about them. First, in August, they added a complete set of custom game mode options to tweak your world to your liking. Think world modifiers from Valheim. Included in this are difficulty settings like creature density and monster populations, which can be tuned upwards or downwards for a more difficult playthrough or a more peaceful creative experience. Plus, additional structures in the outhouse, beauty pit, parts collector, and stronger defenses and spiky walls. Later in October of 24, farming was overhauled with crop scheduling and automatic rotation. A militia system and added horn redefined village defense, and the ability to place wall torches was added both for you and your villagers to ease cave exploration, not to mention the addition of crawler dens to conquer, and saving was made simpler with Steam Cloud saves. November brought a host of the most requested community features in dedicated servers and in-game chat, but also terraforming tools like the Road Planner and Path Maker, which can be used to accelerate travel. I dabbled with this in building one from my village to a nearby woods where my villagers were gathering wood. In this update, they also made archer improvements and gave the game a huge visual upgrade with new shaders, materials, and lighting, something I noticed compared to when I streamed it in the summer of 24. Closing out the year, a smaller but fun seasonal update delivered new festive decorations like the Yule tree, but also improvements to the bloomery, patrol routes, and warehouse systems. Then, 2025 started with a bang by making nearly every resource in the game infinite with a new forester system that made trees renewable, but also explosive sacks, adding a renewable source of iron. Not to mention an entire rework to the cave system, enhancing the exploration of caves, and an optimization to the Steam Deck in March. Later that month, in update number 5, an outpost system was added, allowing sub-settlements for decentralized village management, which is something I think I'll be needing soon, with the resources I need extending further and further away from my coastal base as my villagers continue to deforest the island. But perhaps best in this update, the first new biome since the game's launch in the lake biome and expanded build options, and pies, yum. May brought the 6th update, adding the research system for new weapons via looted relics, armor smith for gear upgrades, bombs reworked to clear previously unremovable rocks, new buildings were added, and a party system was implemented so that you can take your villagers into battle with you or carry resources. I think I will be needing this feature when I decide to take on some of the more dangerous POIs I found. June added animal husbandry with the smoker pens, which allowed players to raise the smoker creature, produce milk, and ultimately craft cheese at the cheesemaker workstation. Also in this update, the happiness system of the villagers was reworked, making their moods more impactful, plus 2 new armors were added and many bugs were fixed, and performance for the game overall was boosted. Shortly after, and most recently this past August, villagers' outfits were updated to adapt colors matching their assigned jobs for easier identification. Vegetation now regrows after being shoveled, and a settlement log was added to track key village events. New longhouse furniture and decorative items were made available for beautifying your home, like ivy fences and arches, and villager AI was improved and further optimization was made to game performance, market route creation was improved, and boss fights I alluded to earlier were expanded. Alright, let's clue this up here because I want to get back to checking out everything available to me in ASKA. But before you head out, make sure you check out my link in the video description and get 40% off of ASKA today on Steam.